and studying supports for mathematicians who want to teach with these kind of materials. And I, with Annie Bergman, taking on a new adventure in educational technology, which I'll tell you a little bit about. But first, the Times Project. So at the end of her first year as assistant professor at Virginia Tech, Estrella got a grant with Christy Larsen and Karen Green, and in one step, got more grant funding for her career than I did, totally. Not even jealous. Maybe someday you'll get rejected 4 times in a row. I have twice. So the project is called Teachers Inquiry-Oriented Mathematics and Establishing Supports. So it's a research and development project focused on improving undergraduate math instruction. Specifically, they are addressing the following research question, which is kind of a tough composite type question, which I can't even believe. So what are the relationships among instructional supports, instructional practices, instructional characteristics of the institutional context? All of this we're studying for the purpose of better understanding how to generate instructional change in undergraduate mathematics. So here's what the team is doing. They're designing, investigating, and evaluating a system of supports for mathematicians interested in instructional change. And developing an instructor support model. They're investigating teacher change in the context of their support model. And looking at the relationship amongst the supports, the instructors, and their instructional practices. And then finally, in order to evaluate this, they're developing a way to assess. They're developing a model, a measurement for inquiry-oriented instruction. And the Times Project features 3 sets of inquiry-oriented curricula. So there's IODE, Chris Rasmussen, yay! When your algebra borrows Andy, I bet Chris is involved in that one too, isn't he? And then there's the TAFU curriculum, now apparently going to be called Iowa. That's the other 2. And I'm currently working on an update for the website. I whined a little bit about running out of money. Stray got a bunch of money, gave me a little bit of it, so I was able to go back and do some polishing up of the website. And so it should be launching in June, a new version of the website with some gaps filled in, facelift. It should be awesome. And if you made it to this talk, which a lot of you did, you got to hear some of the effort that's so far gone into developing this measure for inquiry and instruction. Synergy. So the abstract algebra team, part of Times, is using Kate's instrument as one of the things they're using to help to test the efficacy of their instructional supports. So that's pretty cool, right? So in the best case, each of the Times Fellows will ask their students to take the GCI and identify a comparable class and give us comparison data. Worst case scenario, we have Kate's 420 responses to compare to a national sample. So that's pretty fun. So Stray and Kate working together without me having to do anything, which is kind of the way to do it, I think. Just what if something should happen to me, God forbid. All right. So finally, the newest thing. So back to my old ways, putting together a team of people I'm not giving any money to. This time Sucker, a high school teacher. This is actually Joanna's husband. Teaches computer science at a high school. Has these extremely gifted high school computer programmers. And our goal is to try to develop computer apps that can somehow provide experiences like what the students who experience the type of curriculum have. Partly this is because for a long time it's been really bothering me that I haven't produced anything for students. So not only does the instructor have to have these support materials, which I consider to be a good thing, there's not really something good for the students other than what the teacher might produce with them. So when I teach, I sort of have a website that I keep updating, telling the story of what we've created together, for example, but I don't have something for students to use. So this is one of the things we're thinking about developing for students, is these apps so that they can do some of this reinvention somehow with a computer app. So Annie and I started this past summer. We had these, was it like 10, I think, of these high school kids. They came and we taught them group theory in 2 weeks, which is a little irritating. It wasn't very hard for them. In fact, one of the hardest things is to getting them to realize what we're trying to do is that they don't understand that it could be hard for anyone. And so that's a bit of a trick. Like they literally, none of the hurdles we spend all of our time studying students having, they don't even experience them. They just, whatever. Anyway, so this year they're working with their teacher and they're developing prototype apps for us for 2 of the parts of the activity sequence early on. And we just applied for a $15,000 grant. That's like way more than we did the first project on. So if we get that, we're going to be partying at Kona Kai. So we've been meeting with these guys. It's kind of been interesting. We've been playing, so it's sort of this meta thing happening where we're somehow also helping the teacher teach them computer science because we're like clients for them. So we basically have client programmer meetings with them. And so we've been going back and forth. They develop these prototypes based on what they think might be useful. So here's some pictures of some screenshots. So this is a little triangle that rotates around. And you can basically find a symmetry and then lock it and assign a name to it is what that does right now. There's a table which has tons of math behind it because they're very smart. So I think they actually have it. They can do this for like any n-gon essentially. I mean, obviously they don't fit on the screen if they get too big of an n, but they basically teach you how to do the math. So it's kind of fun. And they have a little playground that they've developed for spin the triangles around, flip them and rotate it. And so we don't know how these are educational apps yet. So one thing we did was Annie made a little storyboard of how she would like to put this all together, what kind of features she would need to actually engage with a student, sort of sitting there one-on-one, to try and see if we can do some of the same kinds of reinvention processes that we do with the regular curriculum. So right now where we're at is that we gave these to the kids, and right now they're making us prototypes, and after spring break, Annie's going to do an exploratory teaching experiment with a single student, and we're going to see basically what are all the ways that we don't know what we're doing. So that hopefully after that we can put together an awesome dissertation project for Annie to do. And in San Diego, Annie will share what.
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah. No.
Totally have something by August.
No worries. All the ways that we messed that up. But hopefully also some cool things that the student does. So we'll see how that works. All right, so final thoughts. So it turns out that creating a group theory course and supporting instructors and implementing it, kind of a big job. Okay. We've made some progress. It's been a fun adventure so far. There's a lot to do, but the butterflies are on the job. So now here's the thing. When I was thinking about this task of giving this talk, I thought maybe I'll have something to say about how to help people mentor grad students so that they can be successful afterwards. But then I put together the talk and went to Steve Strand's talk and Elisa's talk and Estrella's talk and Kate's talk. And I realized that I probably put in enough work to produce the butterflies. But when I went to these talks, what I was seeing was something more like this. So somehow getting results that are well beyond what I probably deserve. I literally Googled butterfly rainbow unicorn. And then amazingly there was actually this butterfly rainbow unicorn kitten. So I still wasn't dreaming big enough. So I eventually decided basically a lot of it is the students' fault for being so awesome. So I'll end by having a slide here that basically has all the PSU students who have given RUME talks since I got to PSU. It's a pretty good list. Most of these students have given like 5 or more of these talks. So this is, I think that's something to be proud of. So there they are. Finally, thanks to all of you guys for all the support over the years. And then here's a reference list.
Oh, God.
And then when question time is over, there's fireworks. Is someone moderating this adventure?
There are mics at the sides, of course, so please, if you are a quiet talker, come up to the mic and ask a question.
I tried not to say anything confusing, so maybe there's no questions. I'll drink.
It's all the double.
Can I get some extra?
I didn't know! Did you remember the slide at the beginning?
Oh my God. Too far.
Remember that spiral deaths? The reason why you get into this is when you grow up in a trailer in the middle of the woods in Arkansas as a plenary speaker. The other thing that happens when you grow up that way is you don't know there's such a thing as a double. But you do know you have pretty blue eyes. And you think maybe you can get extra whiskey in your drink. Who knows how many years I would have gotten extra whiskey in my drinks if I wouldn't have gotten called on that. Thank you very much, Chris Rasmussen. Very much I've learned from Chris. Most of it I appreciate. There's a comment. Thank you so much.
Well, my question is that I have still not taken abstract algebra, and I'm wondering, are there aspects of this or aspects of your pilot study that you might be willing to pilot with a student that's really good at talking about what she doesn't understand?
I'll talk to you.
Like, wait, he was right.
Yes. One of the benefits of not knowing anything is that you're very excited about learning something. So, yes, we'll be in touch. Especially, you could listen to 2 of these talks from me, like 2 hours of this. You don't understand abstract algebra yet? Not a very good lecture. Anything else? How long do I have to be up here before?
I'm just curious, why group theory?
That is a good question. So one thing I tried to fit in here is that, so one of the things, first of all, we've tried to do is to not actually solve the problem of group theory. What I've tried to do, and actually what I try to do with my grad students, is sort of be transparent about us trying to solve the problem of group theory for the purpose of generating a bunch of artifacts of what we tried, what that looked like, so that other people wanted to do what they could. The reason why group theory is because it's my favorite kind of math. So, and also, a little more to that, which is that I was actually really mad about the fact that I didn't understand isomorphism. So I have a very good memory of going to my professor. I looked in a book, and I thought I saw some place where they talked about an isomorphism that wasn't one-to-one. And so I went in there and I asked, so some books have isomorphisms that are one-to-one, and some don't require that. What's going on with that? And once I learned what isomorphism was, I realized that I shouldn't have had to ask a question like that, because clearly if you know the groups are supposed to be capturing that the 2 groups are the same group, you would know that you obviously would not drop one-to-one, because you need to have very least the same number of elements, right, or bijective. And kind of was resentful once I learned what isomorphism was, that I didn't know what isomorphism was back in the day when I was making A's in advanced abstract algebra. And so I thought, you know what, I think that we can do better than that. Another related story is that when I was studying abstract algebra at Purdue, there was a woman in my cohort with me who went to liberal arts college, and we would get these problems, and she would start whipping out calculations with dihedral groups as if those symbols meant things. She was like, and like she would figure out some of the stuff we were trying to figure out. I'm like, where did you learn that? You know, and there were certainly dihedral groups in the books that I studied out of, but I didn't have that understanding. So really, it was like trying to create something that would prevent other people or help other people to not have that experience of not understanding something that was so cool. So that's the way. And that's the end of my talk. There's no further questions.
We need the fireworks.
Yeah.